All right, welcome back. Once again, we are here, Alex and Rufus, having so much fun, having so few technical difficulties.
hmm
Rufus, what's going on, sir? How are you?
I hurt myself.
How? Okay, that's good. What did you do? Well, not that's good, but what did you do?
Well, we've been watching a lot of superhero media,
Yeah,
and it must have gotten into my brain and like
pumped.
wormed its way in.
It pumped you
And
up, and you thought you could do something you couldn't.
I thought I could do something I couldn't. I parked in my garage too close to my trailer, and I thought, well, I'll just like to be able to like get in, get the door open, get in. I'll I'll lift the trailer and move it. And
Yeah,
this is not like a small trailer. This is like a few hundred pounds. And I was like, well, it'll be like there's three wheels, right? So there's the two main wheels, and
it's like
then
one of
there's
those
like,
open. It's like an open trailer, right? It's
yeah,
not like
yeah,
it's not a closed
like
one. It's just an open one. You can load stuff in the top, a wheelbarrow
right.
or whatever you need to. Yeah.
So there's like three points of contact, and I was on the point of contact you're not supposed to lift, which is like the end with the
Huh.
big wheels. I was like, well, I'm just moving it over an inch or two. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I bent over and I didn't like do proper deadlift form or anything. I just sort of like yanked at it and threw my back out. So this is day three of
Oh,
my
Jesus.
recovery.
That's not good.
No, so that's my
Is
my
it what
idiocy.
I was going to ask, what's the worst injury you've ever had?
Injury,
Injury, broken bone,
uh,
whatever. I don't know if you
broken
I can't remember
broken
if you broke
hand.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I
When
had
did
a
you break?
broken hand in college.
Did I was I around for that? I
I
feel
think
like I
you
vaguely
weren't
remember
there
that.
when it happened, but I wore a cast for a couple
When
months.
did it happen? Or how did it happen?
That was in Aikido class, and I fell on it. Funny.
Okay. So you
Um,
didn't like punch a wall or something. That's good.
no, like, well, that was the thing was I would be like, oh yeah, it happened in Aikido class, and people would be like, well, that's like a martial art, right? So you were punching something,
You'd be like, yeah, that's badass. Yeah, you totally
and
you had someone getting their ass kicked. Yeah.
I had to like then there's a whole explanation. Well, you don't punch stuff in Aikido. It's like a more of a rolling and throws and
Yeah.
hand locks and wrist locks and stuff. And it's like, so what happened? And then you have to be like, well, I hit my finger on the ground like this, and it twisted. Regardless, yeah, I had a cast for a while in college. It's 2008 something.
I remember it being a thing like growing up in elementary school, kids were always breaking bones and stuff. And it was weird that I never did. And then yeah, I was freshman year of high school, and I broke my ankle, and it was like, okay, that's it. That's now I'm one of those people that broke something, and since then I've broken like toes and stuff a ton of times because
Huh.
those things break easy. But
That's I've only broken something once. I'm
I
living a
can't say that was my
sheltered
worst injury. I
life.
think a sprained ankle is what was worse than my broken one because the broken one
Hmm.
hurt obviously, but the sprained one affected me for so much longer. So
Well, now that I'm
whatever this.
getting old,
Yeah,
stuff
right.
is like it's so part of it is like just thinking I can move stuff I can't move.
Yeah,
And then part of it is being 38. Like I think if
yeah,
I did that at 28, I probably would have like I might have hurt myself, but I would have recovered by now,
yeah,
or
exactly.
or might have like just been like, oh, I can't lift this, and then stopped.
You just take a look, couple days, and you're fine. Yeah,
Mm.
that's a little. Well,
You bounce back quickly at that age.
it's like
Um,
kids, even like children are like malleable. Their bones are like smooth or easier or something. I don't know, some crap like that.
sure, why not?
That
Um,
sounds fair. Yeah.
well, do you think all those kids were bones were breaking because their parents were abusive? Is that what was going on in your
Well,
elementary school?
conversely, they were, well, I don't know. We were probably starting to have less milk around that time as a
Okay.
people. I don't know if that affects it or not, personally, you know.
Um, I don't know about that. Or is it just the kids get into stuff like they're jumping off things and like playing rough and
I think kids in general, they're just living more risky lives. Yeah, so
yeah,
that's the way it is. But you know,
they peer pressure each other.
yeah. I mean,
It's like,
they appear.
oh, you're on the I jumped off the tall rock. Aren't you gonna jump off the tall rock? You're on the tall rock now. Yeah, yeah,
It's
jump. You can
the
do it.
lot. There is
You
logic
can
of
do
it,
it.
absolutely. Yeah, that's always been that's always been the thing. Uh, I enjoyed. Why am I in that?
Did I lose you?
I'm trying to think if I saw any really bad breaks in person. Um, the worst injury I witnessed in school was the school bully, Sean Foley, in fourth grade. He was messing around with the safety scissors,
Mm-hmm.
and and the teacher was like, "You can't." Like he was trying to cut himself, and the
Mm-hmm.
teacher was like, "You can't cut yourself with those." You remember the safety scissors? They had the fucking
Mm-hmm.
stupid plastic on them. They were horrible. Well, Sean, he wasn't taking that answer, right? So he cut the tip of his finger off, and I just remember the trail of blood to the nurse's office. It was so much blood. It was so
Oh,
dark. Like Sean was not
um,
an intelligent young man, and he did get rid of one of his fingerprints, technically, I guess. So hey, now he can live a criminal life, no problems.
depending on how much he cut off, sometimes it'll grow back. So it's one of the
Exactly,
few
yeah.
tissues, especially when you're a child, that does regenerate. His finger, the tips of the fingers.
Okay, okay. So not the end of the world then. All right.
Yeah. I did in first grade. I like ended up somehow I like fell on a pencil or something, and it went like into my hand.
Oh,
That
geez.
was I remember
I
that be like I the funny thing with that was like I the teacher was like, "Don't bother me." We were broken into groups or something, and she was
yeah,
like, with one group, she was like, "Don't bother me," and I was like waiting next to the group to like ask permission to go to the nurse,
because
and
you
I
had
was
that
like
pencil stuck
pleading.
in you.
There's a pencil stuck in my
There's a
hand,
pencil stuck in your hand. Yeah.
and like eventually she was like, "What is it?" And I was like, "Can I go to the nurse? There's a
Yeah,
pencil."
can I please go to the nurse? Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
I did the one where I did it multiple times where as the pencil rolled off the desk, I tried to catch it with my legs. So I would
Mm,
close my legs really quick. And more than once I had it where the pencil would stick and like go into a leg.
mm.
It wasn't ever that bad. It never caused blood or anything, but it was like, that's not fun.
And I remember
It,
kids would like talk about how many stitches did you need for that?
yeah, right.
Like that would made you tough or something. It was like, oh my, well that my thing needed 5 stitches or my 3 stitches, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember at Pontillo's, when we worked at the pizzeria, I actually I put a staple through my thumb.
Mm,
That was pretty hard because I was trying to fix the stapler. Because we stapled receipts and stuff
right.
to the boxes. Stapler was jammed, and so I was messing with it, and I was like, yeah, I was 20. I should have known better that a staple. The whole point of like the back part of the stapler is it bends it, the
Mm-hmm.
metal. So when you're just going against your thumb, it just went straight in.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about it going straight in was that it made it really easy to pull out because it didn't curve, but it went deep. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
sitting there for a second staring at like the receipt stuck to my thumb, and I was like, well, this is fucking weird. Like it was just a surreal moment that I had
Mm-hmm.
paper like metally attached to me. So, well, this is a fun way
Uh,
to start the episode.
I remember
For
a
those of us
guy.
watching at home, we're talking about injuries. Call in now.
There was a guy at Pontillo's who like burned himself real bad on the
Oh
fryer.
God, on the fryer.
Yeah, like he threw in something that was still like frozen, and the
Oh
water,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
That always goes well with the ice, with the exploding water, then because it immediately evaporates.
And then the guy in my store who was like the manager had no business managing anything, but he was like
Typical food service pizzeria, you know.
our age now and managing a pizzeria, and the like there was a part-time deliver like six high school student who was working at like the counter, and he was hitting on her all the time, and everyone was like, "Isn't she 16?
Isn't this horribly wrong?
this
Yeah.
is this is not okay."
Not what it's supposed to be. I mean, food service in general it's always going to be a mixed bag, but pizzerias and especially Pontillo's, ones run by like or small town pizzerias like that where there's multiple, you get a lot of incest where it's not in typical incest, but you have managers getting fired from one and going to work at another.
Mm,
Um, you have like well, this guy he's a criminal, but we could use him for a couple of weeks. Like
mm-hmm,
I never worked with more people on work release. I never worked with more people that had been in prison. Um, the one guy toward the end of my term, he was like proudly like someone that had been in prison. And I remember I was driving him home one night because he was the new manager. I gave him, I don't know what it was. I was trying to be nice to him. And he was just telling me stories of like how he got into prison and he was so
Mhm.
proud of himself. And I was like, this is not the crowd I need to be around in general. It was a little rougher than I expected. So yeah, I
It was
mean,
a good like first job
it
just
was a
to
good,
like
great
learn to
experience.
work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
But
there's
thinking back, I mean, it was a little more intense than I think either of us realized going into it.
I think that well, I think you were more in the city than I was. I think I was in Henrietta.
Yours was more in Henrietta. I was closer to the city, yeah. So we definitely
Yeah.
heard, I had heard gunshots more than once behind my, behind my
Um,
place.
but I think it was good for like learning how to like show up on time, do what you're told, like follow the rules, and you're fine kind of
Yeah.
work. And I don't know, like I'm glad I'm not doing it forever, but it I think I've multiple times in my life I've thought back on that experience and like,
Yeah.
well, this is like that time at Pontillo's.
Yeah, well, hopefully not too many. But it was a useful situation, yeah, because it wasn't it's like a serious job, like you said. It wasn't something like a career, but it taught you a lot of those early things, and it taught you how to deal with a lot of different personalities,
Yeah,
both the workers and the customers coming in and stuff. Or at least it gave you an idea that there were this many personalities in the world that we hadn't been exposed to yet. I definitely hadn't.
yeah. I mean, we might have had some somewhat sheltered upbringings.
Hmm.
But then now in my current world, I run into a lot of people who I'm like, you would not be saying this if you had spent any time working at Pontillo's.
Probably, yeah,
Like,
exactly, yeah,
I think an admissions requirement for certain fields should be spend 6 months working in food service
yeah.
and then get back to me. Right.
Or I mean, that people have said that a lot for, or even for like driving. Like you really should spend a couple months driving in a northern climate or like a climate with ice and stuff before you go
Hmm.
other places. But working in food service, I think, or retail or something, it's not, whatever job you have growing older. It's just people need to learn how to talk to people better. I think,
Yeah, how to talk to people, but also like how to be humble.
yeah,
Like, you know, if you're a physician and you went there right after college and your first job is being a physician, when have you ever learned how to like be humble and like not think of yourself as being better than other people, right? Because you
yeah.
just had good grades your whole life and
You've always
like
been on that kind of position and
always
been on
been
a
in
fast
a
track. Yeah.
on the track to be so you've never been like, we're all in this together,
Yeah, right.
you know? Um, so I think there's value in that too. Like just learn to eat uh feces a
From
little
certain
bit
people.
from
Well, I
certain
do
people.
remember, I do specifically remember one of the managers at Pontillo's, the one I was kind of friends with. But if I ever made like a mistake on math or something, which is
Hmm.
no, for a nerd, my nerdery is like I'm good at math stuff usually. If I screwed something up, he'd immediately start making fun of the fact that I went to RIT.
Hmm.
And it's like, haha, but this was a guy who, like, I think if I recall, he failed out of college, and he's now like 40 working at a pizzeria. So you have to eat shit from that person who's making fun of you for going to college while you're in his pizzeria. It's kind of
Yeah.
like then you work other jobs where you have to eat shit or work for someone that's an idiot, and you
Well,
just have to do it.
that's also like I definitely remember in that job be feeling a little awkward because like I was still in college and then like there was almost some hostility to me
Hmm.
being there for going to college.
Yeah, the hundred
Um
percent. Hmm.
and I was like, I don't know, it felt undeserved. Like yeah, I got lucky in having the opportunity to go to college, right?
Yeah.
But like doesn't mean anything, right?
Well, but when you're at the pizzeria, you're all in the same position.
Right.
That your college had nothing to do with you in the pizzeria. It's like you're here for a job. So,
Yeah.
but I definitely remember that where it was. I don't believe anyone else at the maybe one or two people at the time we went in there were working or going to college or something.
Hmm.
Most were either dropouts or people with issues,
Hmm.
criminals and drug issues and stuff. So, um, but then you get to, but again, it's like when you're in those trenches, it doesn't matter if you went to college or not. At that point, you're just making pizza and
Right.
making wings and shit. So that's the interesting mentality of, you're not one of us. It's like, well, what is one of us at that point? Because what does it matter?
Right.
Uh,
And so, I mean, to some degree, I guess that's hazing of like you're new at the job. Um, but it's also like, I think, and yeah, that's another pizza lesson. Is you don't like make people feel welcome no matter what. Like even if they're going to college.
and that's why you're still, and then not, and I don't like to say that because pizzerias are great, but a lot of the people that were there at the time, they worked there, but they also didn't want to be there necessarily. Like the guy that was
No.
managing mine, he always thought he was better than it.
Hmm.
Um, the way he spoke and the way he treated other people there, even though he was there like 5 days a week, it was like he was because he had the 5 day a week schedule, the Monday to Friday. He was better than the people who worked nights and worked
Hmm.
weekends and stuff. So now you're dividing out the pizzeria into like who's first class and not. It's like it's a fucking pizzeria. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it teaches you a lot of those not economic, but those socio-political type things in a job.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
quick aside,
Well, that's the
oh, go ahead.
whatever the smallest hill there is, someone will become king of it, right?
Exactly. And a quick aside, the other person I worked with that was interesting. I worked with is it the Crips or the Bloods who can't wear red? Crip. I worked with a Crip
Mm.
because we all had to wear the Pontillo shirts. And this one guy, whenever Dave Pontillo came in, I don't know why I'm doxing Dave. Who gives a shit? It's a public place. Whenever Dave would come in, he'd be like, "Hey, you have to wear a shirt." And eventually, I realized that he didn't want to wear the shirt because if one of his gang member friends came in and he was wearing a red shirt, him and all of us would have gotten shot. So
Uh,
it was like, so I was 100% behind him not wearing whatever the fuck color he didn't want to. Uh,
uh,
I remember
and
the time
I
oh, go ahead.
still had my Pontillo shirt for years
Well,
because I never wanted to
I
buy new clothes.
yeah, I got it
So
somewhere. I kept it as a memento or whatever.
I think I
Um,
have one of them somewhere even
I don't know where they
still,
are now, but I
but
gotta have it somewhere because I had like two or three.
yeah, I mean I kept it as like a work shirt or whatever for.
Yeah. Well, because it's like the first one they gave me was a gray shirt, but it was from the guy that the work release guy who was
Mm.
400 pounds. So even me, a larger guy, 200 pounds, the shirt was it was massive on me. But I'd wear it to work and you get the flour and the oil over,
Hmm.
you wash it. It never gets like clean. It's still just like a work shirt. So yeah, I kept
Right.
it for that reason. Yeah. I do remember the time at Pontillo's I accidentally hit the silent alarm.
Uh-oh.
Um, because it was right next to the register as a button, and they didn't tell you, like they didn't do any onboarding at pizzerias. They weren't like, press this, don't press that. No, they didn't give a shit. So I pressed it one day, not knowing what it was. Half hour later, the police, they don't come in. Like one of them, they just like strolled in, like, "Hey, guy, how you all doing in here?" And we were like, "What's up?" He was like, "Yeah, just making sure everything's okay." And he was being all coy about it. And then once he found out that we were like not, he thought like we were imposters behind the counter. Once he was like,
The criminals who break into
he
pizzerias
thought
and
the
start making
criminals,
pizza.
exactly. He thought like we tied up the staff and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday, we were all like working there. Like, I don't know. He saw one too many movies, clearly, this guy. But he was like, "Yeah, my partner's outside. We were ready just in case something was going on in here." I was like, "Oh, I don't know if this response was the way I would have done it, but hey,
Mm.
thanks, guys." And then just never touch that button. Never scared to death about touching that. Because
Well,
you
at
don't
least
know
they
if they're
didn't
going to come in.
charge the pizzeria for showing up or something.
That too, I would. Well, yes, I didn't mean to do it because in Rochester, yeah, those cops definitely had something else they should
Hmm.
have been doing at the time. But B, our parking lot, the one I worked in, every Wednesday the Key Bank got robbed.
Mm.
Maybe not every Wednesday, but I'm talking at least three-quarters of the Wednesdays I worked there, or for this time span I worked there, it got robbed because they had the rule that the classic like movie thing where they say they if you come in there and say give us money or we'll kill you, you don't even have to show them a gun. They were just like giving the money to people, and the word got out, and they just were abusing that. And eventually, they started having cops like hang out in the lot. But I mean, I only worked there a year and a half, but there was like I'd say double digits robberies in that year and a half in that place.
I'm surprised actually. I didn't think bank robberies were that common.
Not common.
Yeah, like I because I would have thought that it would have died down a bit since the
Cameras
banks
and
have
stuff.
video cameras and
I, I mean, people still go in with the note and say,
mm-hmm.
and I mean, there was a wrestler who got arrested. I mean, they call him a bank addicted drug robber. This particular
Okay.
wrestler who got arrested. He's not a professional, but he went into a bank and tried to steal money and he didn't even have a fucking mask over his face. They found him in like 2 days later because some idiot or someone was watching TV and they were like, if you know this person, he was like, hey, I know that guy from wrestling. They called up. So,
So
um,
did you ever watch any of Peacemaker?
I watched the first episode. I watched the first
Okay.
episode twice now, I think. And it's very bantery.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't hate I love John Cena. Let me
Mm-hmm.
start there. Not just as a wrestler.
That's
I
what got
think
me
I
thinking was like, oh, wrestler John Cena.
I know you're 100% right. I really like him as an actor and as a comedic person. He's got great timing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he got great presence. He always plays not always, but he does a good job playing that character where he's meant to be Peacemaker, but he's also kind of a
Mm-hmm.
dumbass underneath. But yeah, the first episode I was having trouble getting into it because they introduced like the Secret Service people that are
Mm-hmm.
following him. I was like, okay, I kind of remember them, but this seems a little too quippy for me. It seems like MCU type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagle was cool. I know he has a best friend. I haven't even met him yet. Like my friend Ricky told me halfway about the story, and I never
Mm-hmm.
saw it. So go ahead. What were you going to say about it?
I know, I was just wondering because we'd been talking about um
You said you watched the whole series, yeah.
yeah, I watched the whole series. So it's I went back to it because this is now semi-canon for the DCU.
That's what confused me because I know
Um
season two is definitely canon, but I didn't know if
right.
season one was
So
canon
do you
also.
want well a spoiler warning
Yeah, no, go
or
ahead. I
spoil
mean, for season one, no, that's fine. Go ahead. If I cared about spoilers, I should have seen it like 4 years ago. So that's
all
my
right.
fault.
So there's a scene at the end where the Justice League shows up and they're doing that weird thing where you can't see Superman's face. He's
I
just in the
saw
shadows.
I saw the clip of that. I thought it was like, is he in a ghost realm? What's going on?
So
Why is
because
Peacemaker
Henry
fighting
Cavill
zombies?
they
Yeah,
haven't decided if they're keeping him or not.
yeah.
So he's like floating out where you can't see him. And so they had Aquaman and Flash from DCEU
And
there.
then, but Flash is also getting replaced, and
So
Aquaman is
yeah.
becoming Lobo. So, whoops.
So I think I saw one thing where they were saying, okay, only that scene is not canon. But then so the character
That sounds great.
so Creature Commandos, which is
Yeah.
also DCU,
Hmm.
referenced events from that series.
Sure.
So at the end of the series, Amanda Waller's daughter um, exposes that she has been using this group of people as a like an assassination team,
Like a task force, another
task
Suicide Squad,
force.
and all that crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what Amanda Waller does. I don't know why anyone thinks she does anything differently.
It's kind of her MO. Yeah.
Yeah. So they reference that at the end. One of the characters, John Economos, who was in the Suicide Squad, um, and Creature Commandos, is also one of the main characters in Peacemaker.
Okay.
So there's carryover in terms of some events and characters. But then if you look at the trailer for season two, it's looking like they're doing an alternate universe thing
Yeah.
where there's two Peacemakers. So it looks like, oh, maybe he's jumping between DCEU to the DCU. And then he has a cameo in Superman.
Hmm.
So it's, I guess we'll have to wait and see season two to see if it's the same Peacemaker or a different universe Peacemaker who has jumped into uh
That stuff gets so it gets messy, and they kind of
Yeah, I
backed
was
themselves into a corner because they were building up the DCEU and then just like they really just started building it in reality and they immediately start. So it's like, and they say wanted to keep this guy and not that guy, but yes, this guy.
yeah,
And
and the thing was they were very top heavy in DCEU with the Snyder films, and I think they just decided to go in a different direction from those. So some of the other stuff that people did like, um, the Suicide Squad and Blue Beetle and whatever, they're interested in keeping around in some way,
yeah.
but they're doing a hard reset of the whole thing. So it's just confusing, I guess, for now.
Well, and I also think the Justice League is a tough spot to start if you're going to, well, to start in general,
Hmm.
but also when you're going to use the absolute quote unquote biggest characters. Like the Justice League traditionally didn't have Batman in it for a number of years. Like he was
Hmm.
a more recent thing. And including Superman also, it's like, well, Superman really makes every fight uneven.
Hmm.
So if you want to have a Justice League, building it around other characters, it would have been great. I think putting these massive characters in this, it was too much too soon, and it not only that, it didn't make like Superman got a movie establishing him. Batman's movie establishing him was in a Superman movie, and
Hmm.
Wonder Woman's movie establishing her was in a Superman and Batman movie,
Hmm.
and Aquaman and Flash just kind of appeared. So
And
I don't
then they
know.
did movies for them later, but
They did movies for them later, but at that point you were like, are you interested in them or not? Like you really they did the opposite of what the MCU did.
hmm.
And what MCU also did was at the time, those characters were really not their A team as far as Marvel.
Right.
Like Marvel's A team was the X-Men and Spider-Man and I mean I'm going blank right now, but it's really there's other characters in Marvel that were more important than Iron Man, Thor, Captain America at the
Hmm.
time. And they raised their status through that. They didn't do it the other way. They didn't say, "Hey, these guys are the most important in the world," and then work backwards.
Well, one of the things James Gunn is known for is taking kind of lesser known characters and elevating them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's doing that to an extent in Superman, right? Because Mr. Terrific, I think was a breakout character from that movie. Would
He's
you
clearly the
agree?
breakout character. People are really loving Mr. Terrific, which is fun to
Um,
see.
yeah, and then I think Peacemaker is a lesser known character outside of the recent movies.
Yeah.
And then the Guardians movies, that was kind of what he did, was take some lesser known characters and elevate them. Um, so now
Well,
everyone knows who Rocket Raccoon is, whereas in 2013, very few people
nobody would have known who
really did.
Rocket. I mean, nobody would have known who Star Lord or Drax or any of them were.
Yeah.
So that's how you elevate. But oh man, you just made me think of something and then I forgot. But
But yeah, so they're now building the DCU out of the wreckage of the DCU.
it's a strange idea to try to take
Yeah.
some things and not others, because people are vocal about what they like, but it looked in 21 like they announced that Henry Cavill was coming back,
Hmm.
and James Gunn was like, "Yeah, no, I didn't approve that. I wish they didn't do that because I feel bad." So
So what from what I understand, there was a whole thing with The Rock
that
where
asshole,
where he was playing Black Adam,
yeah,
and they did like a whole Black Adam movie, which is not a very good movie. Like I could barely pay attention to what was going on.
I
But
have,
he's the bad guy, but he wins every fight he's in. And then I guess at the end they established there's going to be a fight between Superman and Black Adam.
yeah,
And then I guess like Cavill's agent like persuaded him to come back for this fight
the
with The
cameo,
Rock
yeah,
in the next movie.
yeah,
So they went through this negotiation with whoever at DC to bring Cavill back to fight The Rock,
yeah,
because The Rock is treating it like it's a wrestling match.
yeah,
Like it's exactly the same as he's playing a superhero. It's not real either way,
yeah.
but now The Rock, Black Adam is going to beat Superman in
Hmm.
in the ring
In
or
his in
whatever.
his mind, that was what was going to happen.
Yeah,
I,
so it and then I can't say I feel that bad for Cavill because he still made a ton of money and he got to be Superman for 10 years and whatever. But
Yeah.
um, it's kind of like crummy to still like, yeah, we're bringing him back, and then the next day they bring in Gunn. And he's like, I'm not,
Yeah, that's not happening. Yeah. But
I don't feel like
I,
that.
you're right. A lot of it probably was The Rock. He's become a character that's more frustrating than any, not a character, like a person, I guess. I don't
Mm,
know, an actor. When he first went to Hollywood after, like in the early 2000s,
hmm
and he was playing more off the wall characters or something you wouldn't expect. I remember in the sequel to Get Shorty, he was like a gay hitman or something, and in like
Okay.
2005 it was risky to be a gay guy. Somewhere around like, 10, 15 years ago, along with him being in those Fast and Furious movies, he just said, "I'm going to play The Rock in every single movie.
hmm
I'm going to look the same, act the same, be jacked. There's going to be scenes where I'm beating people up." And then he got to the point where him and Vin Diesel, another thespian of the best, they would have like arguments about like, well, no, you punched me 15 times in the scene and I only got 14 punches back. So we need to redo the scene. And then it got, I swear to God, because I watched a couple like short documentaries about how crazy this got. They got like in arguments about like, well, no, you can't have a scene where you're in the fight, you're standing higher ground than I am or something, because then it makes me look. So they got into like such a mental, and I honestly think it was The Rock that was probably escalating it because that's just the way he's portrayed and the way he seems. And
hmm
I don't follow him on Instagram, but I do see posts and stuff where he's like, "Oh, this is my cheat day," and he's having like six whole pizzas himself. Something about him is just very off. He swears he's natural. There's
hmm
no way that body is natural. Uh, he's not that good of an actor at this point, I don't think. I think John Cena, as far as like wrestlers turned actors, John Cena is by far past him.
Yeah,
Um,
well,
he's big.
it
That's
kind of
really all
seems
there
like
is.
he
So
stopped trying with the acting.
yeah,
Like there was a certain point where I had some goodwill for him. I didn't, I don't follow wrestling, but he like seemed like he was picking funnier roles
yeah,
and like trying to be unexpected
yeah.
in what roles he picked. Like, oh, I'm going to do a kids movie and I'm going to be like a goofy character in a kids movie or
A
whatever.
babysitter or a tooth fairy or something. Yeah.
Yeah, defying expectations. But then like it's been a while since I saw him do something like out something like that where
Something
he's
interesting.
like
Yeah.
not playing to type. Um,
I remember I didn't see it, but the one where he was like a security guard in a skyscraper and he
mm,
had a prosthetic leg, but he's still doing all the rock stuff. Like the
uh,
prosthetic leg didn't actually factor into the movie. That was always just kind of like, all right, this is getting a little fucking silly here. So,
yeah,
um,
well, I
but that was
mean,
just him play. That was the start of him just playing the rock. He wasn't playing a character anymore. He was just
just
Muscles is
playing
here to
himself.
fight to save the day. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
he's a millionaire. God bless. Let him have his fun.
Yeah,
But John Cena is much better as an actor, so I'll say that much.
I mean, I think it's a sign of dysfunction within the studio because I tend to look for the systemic problems and not blame like one guy, right?
Hmm.
It's a sign of dysfunction within the studio if you have multiple teams or like pulling because they're trying to catch up to Marvel
Hmm.
and you can't have like multiple teams pulling in different directions
Yeah,
and like making independent decisions about stuff that affects the whole universe there, right? Um,
not if you want it to be any good.
right. So even like with Snyder, he like I'm tired of the dark side stuff, like the Jack Kirby New Gods, Dark Side Apocalypse stuff in DC.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever they adapt something for like cartoons or whatever, that's the big bad is Dark Side. And
Hmm.
and I've just seen it so many times and it wasn't good the first time. And then that was like the lead up to in Justice League for Snyder was Beowulf, who's like one of the
Beowulf is such a C tier character in DC, though. It
yeah.
was like, yeah, it was just a shitty character to have as a villain for your big
Mm-hmm.
movie. And
Right.
visually not that exciting either. He was like he looked like a horse man, like the Mantar thing. I don't know.
Well, they updated him for the Snyder Cut.
Hmm.
Um, but so there wasn't really a direction going on at that point anyway. Um, that that was a question you had earlier, was what comic story would you adapt?
Yeah, no, go ahead if you
So,
thought of
well,
that.
for
I'm
you, what
curious.
would
Yeah,
you adapt?
I was thinking. I mean, the two that come to mind are in Identity Crisis because it's a great whodunit.
Okay.
The problem is it involves like 40 characters, so you'd need to do something where you have established people and then you quickly introduce other people so you know who they are. Because that was another story that elevated lesser known characters. Like it
Hmm.
made not it made the Boomerang Man's son, Captain Boomerang, more important. It made Ralph Dibny more important. It made what's her name turn into Despero or something. I don't know. It was a real good just who done it. And then also I like as far as on the comedy side, I liked I can't believe it's not the Justice League, or formerly known as the Justice League. I forget
Mm,
which. There were two miniseries, and basically similar like the Justice Gang. It's like all the B tier characters are like, hey, let's form a super buddies team in Manhattan, and like people can call us if they have like a cat stuck in a tree,
mm,
and they screw around and somehow get sent to hell, and they have to like elongated man has to eat burgers. He's his job is to eat burgers, and he can because they're not going to stop you, so anyone else would die, but elongated man can eat as many as possible. It was just funny
mm.
shit. So what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to like come up with something a little obscure
Yeah,
that would be like deep lore knowledge,
sure.
but I don't have that.
No, yeah, that's the
So
thing. Yeah, it's just come up with whatever.
I mean, the thing that came to me is um from the 70s Batman, the Jokerfish storyline,
Oh,
which
okay,
they
yeah,
kind of did in Batman 89, but not really.
yeah.
But so this was like a one of my favorite eras of Batman, which was like when they're starting to take it seriously again and not do the Silver Age, like
Mhm.
this is completely like a goof with like Batmite and stuff.
Yeah.
But then, so it's like
It's not the '80s yet. It's that we haven't had the Dark Knight Rises or
right.
Batman
So it
Year One
hasn't
yet.
been like the deconstruction of Batman
Yeah,
era yet. So it's one of my favorite eras where it's like trying to be serious Batman
yeah,
and but not like, oh, is Batman a fascist?
yeah.
Kind of like stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a Joker story, which is again like probably overdone in movies at this point. But I remember really enjoying reading that storyline. Involves the Joker poisoning fish in Gotham Harbor with Joker venom, which gives people the
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 rictus grin, yeah, and he
rictus
kills them.
horribilis,
Yeah.
um, makes them smile to death.
It is overdone, but the Joker poisoning or gassing or doing like in The Dark Knight Rises where he's the good guy again,
Mm,
or like he's pretending to be good and then all of a sudden he poisons the whole crowd.
hmm.
That stuff is just it's really like dark and great. I, I the interesting thing about the '70s with Batman, like you said, it's like a forgotten era
Yeah.
because people assume it just goes from the campy stuff of the '60s and just slams into like Frank Miller stuff.
Mm,
It's like no, there's a transition. But growing up, those were some of the books I was able to get. We had a little like a Woolworths or something near where my grandmother would get her hair done, and they had like comics just on like a rack, and they weren't up to date or
hmm.
anything. But I had a couple issues of Batman from that time where he was wearing the blue cowl and
Hmm.
everything and the gray outfit, and he was talking to like he wasn't just in the shadows. He would actually have dialogue and stuff, but it wasn't silly.
Right.
And yeah, that's almost like a completely forgotten time. So
Yeah, and I think it's an underappreciated version of Batman. Um,
yeah.
and I'm not a big fan of the multiverse stuff that DC does because they like I think what happened was they came together from a bunch of different companies,
Yeah.
got bought up, um, Carlton Comics and Detective Comics and a bunch of
Mhm.
other things. And so there were like multiple contradictory storylines
And
and
multiple
like
versions of certain
characters,
characters. Yeah.
yeah, different characters that existed in multiple ways or whatever. So like, okay, these are all part of one multiverse, and
Yeah.
that's how we're gonna solve this, and we're gonna condense it back to one thing so everyone's in the same place. And then they've had to do that multiple times since then, and it's gotten extremely like convoluted. Um, they like 20 years ago, they reset stuff again to the new 50 year two,
Yeah.
and then they did rebirth, so it went back and undid new 52,
That's where
and then it's
yeah. They've really
um
lost me on that because Crisis on Infinite Earths in the 80s was that was the event and it
mhm,
lasted for like a long time of like this is what happened and this is who's dead and here's who's alive and here's how we have a Silver Age Green Lantern and a Golden Age and they're both
mhm,
alive and not retired but there's a reason for it. It lasted for a while, but the problem is they're like, well, in this universe though, X is dead or Y is dead. We don't
mhm,
like that. They have fans. So, maybe every 20 years you need to do some kind of event, but I feel like they did that in the 80s. Then like you said they did the new 52 like 20 years ago, and then since then they've done it like two or three times.
mhm.
Because all the numbers are screwed up. I don't know what's when I go to the comic book store, everything's in like the single teens or like the low digits.
Yeah,
Why are we starting?
they started resetting it one every time there's a new writing team for a lot
Mm-hmm.
of them.
Well, Green Lantern started doing like annual, like not annual, but like 1 through 12, and then the next year is 1 through 12. So when you used to go on a website to look for comics, it was like Green Lantern had like four volumes.
Mhm,
It's like Golden Age, Silver Age, Modern or Pre-Modern, and then to current. Now I went last time and there's like I think 9 volumes of Green Lantern because they just keep resetting it.
mhm.
And it's not even so much about saying, "Hey, like I got to issue 1,000 with Green Lantern." It's just being able to keep straight.
Yeah, and it's the same complaint I have in general with comics now is there's very little you can pick a book up and get a full story.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of this is a part of you need these three other books to
yeah.
understand what's happening, or it's crossing over to Wonder Woman or crossing over to the Flash or editor's note, see Blue Beetle number 5, whatever. And they expect you to be spending hundreds of dollars on comics every single month
Well, especially
just to
because
be
they're
able
not
to
two
keep
dollars
up.
anymore. They're like five to
Yeah.
six dollars a piece now. They're really getting,
It's
it's
not
not like it
it's
used to be. Not the
it's
hobby
not
it used to
a small amount of money.
be. Yeah,
Um so I think, going back to that Jokerfish era,
yeah.
like there is a story and it's kind of self-contained and it's part of an ongoing continuity, but like it, it's its own thing. So I don't.
Yeah, exactly. The characters do have overarching things, like if Batman's dating Catwoman or something. It's not
Mhm.
like every episode it resets and they
I
don't know
think it
who
was
each other
Silver
are.
St. Cloud back then or
Oh,
something, but
well, yeah. I'm just saying in general. Thank you. He had the funniest names. Who he was, but I remember the editor's notes were always informative originally.
hmm
It was like, oh, did you miss this? In episode 2, he got his powers or something.
hmm
Then it
Now it's an
became like,
advertisement.
then it became literally, oh, you missed this? Well, check out issues 9, 10, and 11 of this coming out soon. Like, all right.
hmm
And then at the end, like you said, that all cropped up in the 90s when it became let's let's pump these people for all we can get.
Right.
Where every single story was part of a mini series in itself, and then related to other things that they had to get. And
Mm.
that's you'd have to have like a checklist to keep it straight. And it's not nobody wants to do that. Like I said, I picked up a random issue of Batman as a kid from a Five and Dime or Woolworth or whatever the hell they call it, and I had a story.
hmm
And that's when I went to this comic. The guy I went to comics for a long time in the flea market back home. This older man named Jay, rest in peace. He just passed a year or two ago. When kids would come in and they weren't like kids with their parents would come in and they were like
hmm
5 or 6 years old, be like, "Oh, I want to read a Spider-Man comic." They'd pick up something new, and he'd
hmm
be like, "No, no, 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 don't pick that up. Let's if you get interested and you want to come back every week, get that." But for now, he'd go and he'd pull, and he was a super mean guy too, but he'd pull out like an old back issue and he charged them like 10 cents. He charged them
hmm
something really small for it, and be like, if you like it, then come back and I'll give you another one, kind of thing. Because it's the whole, again, it's the whole story. You're not,
Hmm.
he wasn't trying to rip the kids off. He hated what the business became,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's literally it's what it's for. It's little stories for people to escape for a little bit. It's not meant to be a homework assignment.
Right. And
Um,
that's kind of how I've felt with it for like a while,
yeah,
is like you really need to be invested in like keeping up, and like I think there's a level of comic fan who is into that. There must be, because they still sell books, but it's just I I I'm not invested enough in the, like, I wish. So like if you look at something like Long Halloween for Batman, right,
sure, yeah,
where it was collected as a hardback at some
yeah.
point, or a trade book at some point. I wish they would do more stuff like that, where you can have like a self-contained story in this universe with continuing characters, and then you could collect it,
Mm.
and it's longer. You can tell more story, but it's all like one thing.
It's one long book at that point,
Yeah.
and I don't have a problem with the miniseries or like
Hmm.
the storyline necessarily when it's contained to a book when it's 5 or 6 issues and it's more when they're tying you into 50 other
Yeah.
things.
And I
Um,
mean, you can go buy stuff as a trade
yeah, you just have to
paperback now.
wait,
You just
and
have to
that's
wait,
fine.
right?
And they're collecting almost all the stories, which is nice thing. I mean, I'm thankful they're doing that. But it's you know, it's if you go to the comic book store, you used to not used to, but you could say, "Oh, Batman's taking on someone
Mm,
this week. Let me check out an issue." Now it's like you have to. It's like there's a lot of backstory and
yeah.
others. I tried to get into Batman again just because I saw Hush Part Two was happening this year for like 20 years, and I've
Okay.
gotten a couple of the issues, and I just haven't felt the impetus to like. I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna finish the whole series just so I have it. But it's like it's really not. It's not like it used to be where
Every once in a while, I'll like try and pick it up again,
yeah,
and like follow. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna follow Batman, or I'll follow Superman, or I'll follow Green Lantern, whatever. Green Arrow at one point. And like the last time I was following Batman and Superman for a while,
yeah,
and then they did a thing where like Dick Grayson got shot in the head and lost
yeah,
his memory,
yeah.
and so the Nightwing comic just became like bizarre.
Well, that's fun. That's just what you want. You want a head injury comic.
And then I think Alfred got killed. Like they, and I was like, okay, I'm out. Like
Yeah, this is not fun anymore.
this story,
This is just pissing on everything I like.
the story was not like one where it's worthy of like a major character who's been in the comics since 1940 being killed off.
Being killed.
Right?
Yeah.
It was something like some guy wanted to piss Batman off, and so
Yeah.
they just killed Alfred.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm wrong about the
Well, no,
context,
but
but
yeah, you're oversimplifying, I'm sure, but still, you're within the realm of what's happened, I'm sure.
yeah, and so I was just like not interested at that point. Um, so I heard they went back on the head injury or something. Like
The brain,
he was calling
traumatic
himself
brain injury.
Rick Grayson for a while.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Rick, Ricky Grayson,
Um,
Night Fling, or whatever.
yeah, but it just like didn't appeal to me. And so I'm not the kind of person who has like read every back issue of every like obscure character, you know.
Yeah,
I just don't think I don't have the encyclopedic knowledge of every.
a lot of what I know is just from when I was a kid and I had like trading cards and stuff. So I learned a lot of
Yeah.
these characters, but I'd never read stories. Not never, but you see them in passing in a
Hmm.
story. That's where I remember I first saw Peacemaker was a trading card from like 1990, the DC Cosmic Cards. And
Okay.
he just, because of the ridiculous helmet, it just stands out. Even then, the helmet looks silly. And I just assumed he was like someone from another universe based on that. I would have never figured he was a military or whatever secret agent kind of thing.
Well, I think what they did in the series with him was kind of fun, or at least made him more interesting.
Yeah,
Um, so they gave a lot of backstory in the series. His dad was a racist,
yeah.
and but he was like a racist supervillain
Yeah.
named the White Dragon.
Oh God.
So they have so one of the lesser bad guys of the series is his dad and the group of like Klansmen
Huh.
fill-ins, but they're like a weird like off-brand KKK.
Yeah.
So instead of wearing like the pointed caps, they have like pillowcases they wear over their heads. Um, so uh
I
and
still
then
can't
they
get
did
over.
a
I still can't
thing
get over Superman taking out the KKK a couple weeks ago. I told my dad
uh,
about that. He didn't. He blew his mind. Sorry. Go ahead.
uh and they had a whole thing where like as a kid his dad would like have him and his brother fight in a pit against each other to like entertain the hillbilly racists. And he like punched his brother too hard by accident and his brother died. And
Jesus Christ.
he was blaming himself instead of blaming his dad.
Yeah.
And so the big like emotional moment for him is like realizing like, oh no, actually I as a 10-year-old was not responsible for this situation my
Yeah.
dad put us in.
Probably the progressive way to think about it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Um
See, now you're making me kind of want to go back and watch the episodes now. Which I was going to have to do anyway before next
yeah.
month's season 2, but now I'm more interested to do it. So
Well, I'll give you one more spoiler, which
sure, go
is who
ahead.
the
Yeah.
bad guys are for their motivation.
Is it
Um,
whites?
no, so the
Oh,
bad guys are aliens,
okay.
but there's kind of two sects of the aliens, or whatever. So the bad sect of aliens, their motivation is they're basically the militant left.
Okay.
So they want to save us from our inability to deal with like climate change and authoritarianism
Sure.
and uh and such, because we vote wrong.
Yeah.
So they've decided to take over.
To do it, they take it in their own hands.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I thought that was an interesting choice. Interesting
Interesting.
choice for a villain.
Well, I mean, when they're able to wrap it into something that people are very concerned with anyway, that definitely helps, you know.
Well, they didn't even really do that. It was just like a throwaway line explaining why they were doing bad stuff. Um, but
Wow.
regardless, I think that is something Gunn does well is like look to old, like kind of forgotten characters and like give them enough story to make people care about them.
Well, that is the thing that a smart person could do. There's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories and characters that are not thought of,
Hmm.
and that these things are pre-made, ready to be made into a screenplay or a TV show or something.
Right.
It's just figuring out, and it might not, and you might need to finesse it, or you might need to change a character, or put two characters together that never were together. But there is all this just material sitting there that if someone was smart or not smart, if
Uh,
someone wanted to do it, they could say, "Hey, let's figure some shit out and do it." So I'm glad to see he's doing that because it's not like let's just see 50 movies of the X-Men only, you know.
so the
Um,
one I'm excited about coming up is Clayface.
it's apparently I saw it's like an
So,
actor that got his face messed up by the mob.
so I don't know the plot of the movie that's coming up. So
That's literally that's all I heard. Yeah, that's
there's you remember the Batman the animated series
oh yeah,
Clayface?
no, I'm very familiar with Clayface in general. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
so
especially
the
and in Hush he fakes being Jason Todd.
yeah. And they did a thing recently for a while where Clayface tried to join the Bat family as like a
I was
good
gonna
guy
say,
or something.
yeah, he was a good guy when in a recent issue I read, or he was at
Yeah,
least like he was not a good guy, but at least he was kind of aligned with Batman and
neutral
not
or he was aligned
neutral.
with
Yeah,
Batman. Yeah. And like well in Batman animated it's kind of like a horror story. Is like he's this actor who gets getting old and they're not and he's kind of like a Boris Karloff type. He did a lot of horror movies and
yeah,
so he like something happens where he can like change his face and he
yeah.
becomes Clayface. and then crimes ensue.
Yeah.
So the guy who's doing it um, made some horror series I really liked on Netflix. He made Haunting of Hill House. He
Okay.
made uh, Midnight Mass. Have you seen any of these?
I saw Haunting on Hill House. I did not see the second one.
And he made the Poe adaptation, The Fall of the House of Usher.
Okay.
Um, so those were all very well done. Sort of like The Haunting of Hill House, obviously is the genre is haunted house novels.
Hmm.
And it's based specifically on the Haunting of Hill House novel. Have you read? No,
I
I
haven't
guess.
read that. No, no.
All right. Well, so it deviates a lot from that source material, but it's clearly inspired by it. And then Midnight Mass, definitely worth watching. Um, Fall of the House of Usher is, adapting Poe stories and kind of trying to tell a combined story out of it. So I
Well, so they're
think
right off. So they're right off the bat going with something in DCU or whatever we're calling it. That's different.
different.
That's different. Yeah, which is nice.
So there's going to be a horror story. I think it's going to be Clayface without Batman,
Hmm.
which
Which
could be
again,
interesting.
which is not. It's risky, but it's again, it's like there's no reason you can't come up with an interesting Clayface story based on what you've
Hmm.
described it as and the character and stuff.
Well, they're also, I think they're doing it in such a way where it's like, okay, now we have DC Universe. We can take these characters we're introducing everywhere and then mash them up, right?
Mhm.
So there's no reason Clayface is stuck in Gotham, right? He could get out of town if he wanted to.
Yeah. Well, that's the good
And
thing about having a connected unit, like you said. It's not like the old days where these things were isolated.
yeah.
Um, it was fascinating. I mean, I don't want to change it from Clayface necessarily, but it was interesting to hear. I was reading about why Marvel, like what happened to Marvel in the 90s where they sold all their properties to different, just
Hmm.
to anyone who wanted them. I think it was Toy Biz bought Marvel, a toy company,
Mm.
and then Toy Biz said these are the most toyetic characters, so we're going to sell movies for these. So that's why Blade was like the first movie made. Um, and then X-Men and all of those. So like all that run in the early 2000s, they just like, hey, who wants Blade? Oh, okay, Rufus, $50. Blade, cool. You have that. Different, Alex, you want X-Men? Okay, you guys.
Hmm.
They didn't give a. They didn't even think about connecting these things at all.
And now it's big money to get him back under the same roof, right?
Exactly. That's the joke. It's like you figure from the get-go, you would have said, can't we try to sell this all to one group? I mean, I know you probably take less money as a package then, but at least then you're
Hmm.
because then everything's in the same. It'll at least, if not look identical, it'll at least have the same rough look and rough feel and stuff. Like they can,
I don't think people were thinking that way
they
then.
weren't at
Like
all. No, it was just like here's a property, Blade. Let's see what we can do with it. Here's
people
a
still
property,
weren't
X-Men.
now for all now people take comic book movies way too seriously.
Yeah.
Then they were not taken seriously at all.
We were
And it
coming
was
off of Steel and Batman and Robin and
hmm
really bad comic book movies at that time. So
yeah. Um I think that's around when like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man was 2001 when it came
Yeah.
out. So
All
yeah,
right.
X-Men, Blade was the first, but the real one that kicked everything off was X-Men in 2000.
So you just
Um,
rewatched Blade. Was it good?
just rewatched it. I liked it. I mean, it was all right. It was a little cheesier than not cheesier, but it didn't take itself too seriously.
All
It had
right.
some good comedy moments to it. It's very it's very dated. Just like the
Mm-hmm.
act, some of the action scenes with Wesley Snipes, he is really skilled. Obviously, before his tax evasion, he was the best. But some of the graphics are dated. Some of the editing is a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more curious to see how the second because I heard the second movies were real. Everyone in the series really says it gets going or it's the best. So I'm curious to see the second and then
All
ignore the
right.
third. But it was nice to at least finally understand the Blade character a little bit. Although then when I looked more into it, it's like, oh, they changed him for the movie. And then that version of Blade became the Blade in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Where originally Blade was just a badass vampire hunter who couldn't get turned. He was just a human, but he couldn't get turned for some reason. After the movie, because of the movie made him like a half
Mm-hmm.
vampire who still needs blood to like satiate himself. It's like, okay, that's cool, but I don't know if it's cooler than him just being a badass vampire hunter. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
How do you feel about that where like there's a movie and then based on a comic and then that becomes the comic?
That's what frustrates. I mean, that happened with Batman. The Batman look from Batman '89 really became his like predominant look for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's hit or miss. I mean, the X-Men after that X-Men movie in 2000, they basically wore leather outfits in the comics for like 10 years, and it was horrible. It's mostly look related, but like I said, the Blade, that's one example of when they change someone's lore, and they've done it before too, or
Mm-hmm.
they've done it otherwise. I just can't think of any examples right now. So, um,
Yeah, I mean, I've heard complaints about that. Um, I've also like so if we go back to the earliest Batman and Superman comics, right?
mhm.
They're drawing on stuff from like The Shadow and other like adventure serials
The
and
Phantom, the
Flashman
Shadow,
and
yeah,
like The Phantom. So like some of these ideas had already been circulating. And then you get like the comics. And then not that long after that, they started having movies, right? And radio
hmm
shows. So the first Batman movie, we talked about this, how it was like weirdly like 1940s racist against Japanese people.
yeah.
In like a really this is why no one talks about this movie anymore, is because like one of the first lines in the movie is praising the government for internment camps. Um,
Which neither, which me and Rufus do not endorse.
no,
Mm.
but there were
Racist.
certain elements in that movie that influenced the comics. So
Yeah,
Alfred, his like look in the comics comes from the movies, and then the idea of there being a bat cave comes from the movie. There's
yeah.
like a couple other things that are introduced there that then work their way into the comics, and then there's stuff from the then there's stuff from the comics that influence the 66 show, and the 66 show influenced the comics.
It all gets
So it's
kind of
kind of
mixed
always
together.
been
Yeah,
mixing back and forth between media, right?
yeah.
So it's kind of hard to be like the comics are the official lore, right? And there's nothing in the movies counts because it's always gone back and forth.
Well, it's hard to call them. Well, I mean, it's hard to call them comic book characters then at that point because they're really just characters because they've
Hmm.
probably been in more media than just. I mean, not more, but if you're counting the hours spent the last 10 years on Batman or Iron Man,
Hmm.
it would be way more on games and other stuff than it would be comics probably. And when we talk about like The Rock, we don't say like movie actor The Rock. We just say The
Hmm.
Rock. So it's interesting. I know he's a real person, so it's not a great example necessarily, but it's an interesting point, yeah, that these things have transcended comics a while ago, and we still hold them as comic book characters because that's where they're from, but
Hmm.
they've really transcended that. So
All
nice.
right. I
That's a
think
good point
we've
to end on, I think. Yeah,
it's
we just
time
had a
to
really
end.
we had a nice breakthrough. We had a good
All right.
talk. Audio issues out the ass, but we're gonna fix those for next week.
All right.
Rufus, we always say we need to have a test stream, but this time we actually do need to have a test stream before next time.
Yeah.
But